Hello, my name is Nefertiti, and I serve as the community manager here at Screencastify. We are beyond excited to present our April webinar, which will allow you to supercharge Google Slides with Screencastify. This webinar is going to be led from the amazing folks at friEdTechnology and specifically their CEO, Amy Mayer. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce her, and her team will be in the chat to moderate, answer any questions, comments, or concerns that you might have. Amy?
Hey, Nev, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing well. How are you guys?
Good, good, fine, thank you. Oh, good. I'm glad I see you guys coming into the chat over there. So we have some really exciting things to show you tonight, and I just left you a message to get started here that this is going to be so much better if you do use the chat, you talk, if you have a question, ask. And I've got a couple of experts here with me who are going to be reading your chat and make sure that we talk about all of the details that you're going to need to actually implement the techniques we're going to show you in your classrooms and schools. So thanks so much for joining us. It's exciting to see you guys from all over the place. We have Austin and Minnesota and Wisconsin and even Australia, Dubai, Baton Rouge is so cool. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. And when this webinar is over, I'll let you know that I'm going to be putting a copy of this document that you're looking at onto our blog so that you will have any resources that I show you use these in your own classroom and examine them more closely. So just know that that's going to be coming your way when we get finished. We just want you to stick with us until you see what these kind of ideas are all about here. All right, so what we're going to do tonight is we're going to show you some products that have already been created, and I'm going to help you understand how they were made, and then I think that you guys are going to immediately understand the application and use of these things. So you guys are looking at my Google Doc right now, right? And you see the Self-Paced Lessons Google Doc, and you see some icons at the top. Whenever you get this document later, these icons are clickable, and you can check out our social media channels there, which we would love for you to do. All right, I'm going to move over now to a different window, and I'm going to start showing you the example that Jessica, who's in the chat tonight, has made for you guys to see. And I don't know about you, but I think you're going to really be impressed with it. So what she did is she made kind of a sample lesson that might look like something you might want to use in your classroom. So this is a Google Slides presentation, and we're looking at the published view right now. So if I'm a student looking at this slide deck, I'm going to go ahead and click Get Started. Let me show you that one more time. So here I am, and when I click Get Started, you'll see that I'm taken to kind of a menu. I see Jessica on the screen here. She's my teacher in this scenario, and she's giving me instructions and talking to me right here from this slide, and she is telling me how to proceed in this activity. So let's say I want to now move on and do activity 1 for my vocabulary study. You guys know we're here hosted by Screencastify tonight, and you might not immediately see on this slide how Screencastify is used, but it is used. Do you see way down in the bottom corner, right down here, where my mouse is moving right now, there's a little play button. And it actually started playing as soon as we got to this slide. But the way that she constructed this, she doesn't really need me to watch that video. She only needs me to hear the instructions so that I know what to do next. And after I hear the instructions and I've done my activity, I can click this button and go back to the playlist again. So I want to know, before I even move on, from all of you guys in the chat, are you interested in seeing how Jessica made this activity? Is this something that you're dying to find out about? Michelle says yes. Okay, awesome. I'm so glad to hear you guys say that, because I thought you would be. It's super cool, isn't it? And I know Jessica's listening right now, so this is great for her to be hearing your reaction to that. All right. So I'm going to skip over now to a different view of this presentation, because there are so many different techniques that Jessica has used inside here that are going to help you be able to make this, and then you have the awesome opportunity to ask any questions that you have about it, and she's here. If I can't answer them, she will. So I want you to notice, first of all, what I noticed, first of all, when I went to this and took a look at the back side of her presentation, is that all of the slides in this presentation are actually hidden. So if you haven't used this feature before, all you do is you just right-click on the slide that you want to skip and you go to Skip Slide. What this makes it do is it lets her use these buttons to move the slides forward instead of just a click anywhere or a click in the menu. Isn't that a brilliant idea? I thought that was so smart, and I didn't think of it until I saw her do it. So what this lets her do now is to put these buttons on top of the slide and determine exactly where they go. So if I want someone to be able to click on this and go to slide 2, which is where the playlist is, then I just put in the button, and she did that using a shape. So here's a shape. I can draw a shape. I can put text inside the shape, and then I can control where this hyperlink is going to go. So I can make sure it's clicked, so it's selected, and I can use my link button, and I can determine which slide in this presentation I want it to go to, or like you saw, I could even put a different link in here if I wanted to. Let me show you another cool thing that she did to give herself ultimate control. Do you guys see how when I click on this slide and move, I'm moving this box around? See what I'm talking about? So this box, what this is a transparent shape. And the reason she did this is because she didn't want people to be able to click on the slide or click it and move forward. She wanted to have the control of putting this button on top of everything and determining exactly what was going to happen when you clicked on this. Darren, you just made me so happy right now. I can feel my brain getting bigger right now. It can barely fit my head. That's really the best chat comment I've ever seen in my whole life. So thank you for sharing that. So then you know how to do these buttons, and you know there's going to be that transparent box that's over everything. Let me just show you real quick the transparent box. So this is what I imagine Jessica doing in my mind. I'm imagining her drawing that box using this shape over the top of everything, or making it, and maybe she dragged down the corner of it. And then she went up to, whoops, let me go back. Then she would go up to the fill tool, and she would change it to transparent. And then she would go up to the line tool, and she would change the line to transparent. And she would do that, and then she would put her buttons on top of that transparent box so that they were actually sitting on top, and she could have her controls out there where she wanted them. So many smart things. All right, this is not the only product that we brought for you to look at tonight, but I want to make sure that you see all of the brilliant things that she put in here. So let's take a look at the video that is underneath these objects. So way in the background, she's got a video here made with Screencastify, of course. And this video has got settings applied to it. Or I should say, it can have settings applied to it. So when I click on the video now, I get this format options, which I can get format options for anything. I can click on a lot of different things and see format options. But when I'm clicked on the video and I go to format options, I'm going to see a bunch of different options. And I can tell you that one of the tools that Jessica has put in for us to see later on, one of the paths for making these things, is going to allow us to have one long video that we can use these options to split up. And I'll show you that later, but this is just kind of a preview. I want you to see that using this, we can control when the video starts and ends. So now I'm going to go backward and put Jessica's slide back in order like it was before, so it looks nice again. All right, another technique I want you to see here. She has put these buttons back to playlist. You guys know how she did that. She made the button with a shape. She linked it back to slide number 2, which is where our kind of control panel thing is. But there's another element on this slide I wanted you to see, and that is this little video that's way down in the corner. So I'm going to, just for a minute, I'm going to stretch this out so that you can see. This video is actually not made to be seen. This is made to be heard. So you might or might not have seen that just this last week in some of our accounts, we're seeing the ability to insert audio. But I think that still for a long time, it's going to be easier to insert this screencast and use it as audio, because right now, this is really a super easy to make product that we can pop right in here. And that's what we're all about, is making this stuff the best that it can be in the fastest amount of time possible. So look what she did. She popped the video in there. She made it super small. She put it down into that corner down there so that we couldn't even really see it or notice it. And then she set it so that when the slide was presented, when the student clicks that button and goes to this slide, he or she is going to hear this video start. And since it's pulled down here in the corner, the student is not even really going to be much aware that that object is down there. Isn't that brilliant? It's so smart. All right. It's hard for me because I can't hear you guys and I can't stop to read. So Neff, will you let me know if anyone has a question or anything that I should stop and address? And then, yes, Alyssa, you are going to be able to rewatch this later, right, Neff?
I will definitely keep an eye on the chat and let you know.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. All right, well, I'm going to go back to our sort of list now of everything that we brought for you tonight and sort of return over here and remind you that this lesson that Jessica's brought us tonight is really great for a blended learning or flipped learning classroom. There's so much emphasis now at secondary school for having students not working whole group. And that's hard for secondary teachers. Classroom management's hard in secondary school. And I know I was a high school English teacher. It's really hard. And I think it's even harder now than it was when I was teaching. But we need something that is engaging, useful for students to be working on so that we can work in smaller groups. And this is a fantastic way to do this. And I can even see students making these things, and I love that idea too. She brings up another great point here. Ideal for use on student mobile and personal devices. So we work with teachers all the time. That's what we do as a company. We work with teachers and do professional development. And this is one of the things we hear is, I don't have enough devices for all of my students, or I don't have enough devices even for all of my students. I want to be working on this at one time. But a lot of times students are bringing mobile personal devices to school and maybe not doing what they should do with those devices. Well, let's give students something that they should do with those devices and hopefully make this a useful thing instead of a distraction. All right, we are going to take a look at another example. And this is one that Techie Carrie, you can find Techie Carrie on Twitter. She has given us for tonight. She wasn't able to join us, but I think you guys are going to like this too. And this is more of an elementary focused lesson. And I love the ideas that she has here as well. So you can see that Carrie added a Screencastify that has got directions in here for students so that they can open this up and work on this individually. But her tactic at this is a little bit different than the one that Jessica used. So what she's doing here is giving students a chance to actually do something, type something, draw something, move something around in each of these slides. So instead of this being a presentation that you watch, she calls it a stop and do. It's something that you're actually going to do. So here we are. We get a lesson up here. We learn about what to do, and then we're going to type something. On this slide, again, we're going to get some directions, and then we're going to be answering some questions, and we're going to be linking out to a website to read some things in order to be able to answer our questions. So I love that she has thought this through as far as, what am I going to do in here? So on this slide, what I can do is I can add in shapes, and I can be labeling different parts of my animal. She's just got a lot of clever ideas. And again, you guys are going to have this later. This is my favorite slide in this whole deck. If you were a flamingo and your diet had an effect on your appearance, what would you look like? And then she gives some directions here on making a Google drawing. So if I click the flamingo, I'm going to be taken to Google Drawings. I can make a drawing of what I would look like if I looked like what I ate. And then I can put it into this slide, and that can be my work product for this slide. So I really love that idea. Here, you're going to make a Venn diagram. So just giving you some materials here that you can use. And you're going to be comparing the relationships between a flamingo and a salmon. I love that. The color thing connected them. I'd never thought about that before, but totally makes sense. And here, students are going to be using Screencastify themselves and putting their video into the slide. And that brings me to a point. I want to show you how to get these videos into your slide, because I don't want to assume that everybody already knows that. I can tell some of you guys are really advanced, and this immediately was like, I know exactly how to do all of this. I can see how this is made. I just needed the idea. But I want to make sure that everybody knows how to do this. So when you have recorded a video in Screencastify, it goes into your Google Drive automatically, and I love that. When I was looking at all the different screencasting tools in the world, even before I met Neff, even before I met anybody at Screencastify, this was my favorite one. And the reason why is because it's got all the options that I really needed, and it worked in the fewest number of clicks possible. And I know how important that is to teachers. So once I have made my video, I want to just make sure that you guys know when you go to that button, you're going to be taken back to your recordings. And you can see all of the recordings that you've previously made. This is where you can, it's also a place where you could go and name them if you wanted to. It's really important to name your videos, and says a person who often doesn't do that. But let's see, here's one that I did name. So here's animated GIF of choosing a theme in slides. Well, I've saved this to my Google Drive. I probably went up here to the symbol that we call corn dogs, and I probably chose Google Drive, and at some point I probably copied the link. And I can still do all of that if I want to. That's one way that I can get the link to put it into my slide presentation. But it's really nice and easy to be able to go to Insert Video and just choose a video that is inside my Google Drive. So once I go to my drive, I can either navigate to the folder that's automatically there. It's going to show me all of the recent videos. There's the one that we just looked at through Screencastify. And I can just select that video and put it right into my slides. And your students can obviously do the same thing. And then remember, once we get it in there, we can go to the format options, and we can control the video playback. Where is it going to start? Where is it going to end? Is it going to autoplay? And is it going to be muted, or is there going to be audio automatically with that video? And those, it's like this tiny number of options that gives us almost just unlimited abilities to make this do cool things in the classroom. So I want to go through this part down here, the two different approaches to putting these videos in here. One approach is to record that separate video for each slide. And that's what you saw Jessica do in the self-paced English language arts and reading lesson. This is one video. You're going to listen to the whole entire thing. It is about 2 minutes, and you're going to have that video stand alone in the slide. But I want to introduce you to another way to do this, because sometimes it is easier to make a whole long video that is your whole entire process and then break it up on the slides. So what I can do then, if I've got a long video, I don't want my students listening to a video that's probably more than 3 minutes without doing something. So if you put that long video into a slide, copy the slide over and over again, then can you see how you can go here and you can control the playback options so that on the first video, we're going to listen to maybe 0 through 3 minutes. And on the second slide, we're going to take that same exact video and we're going to set it to play 3 minutes to 6 minutes. Would you all tell me in the chat if that makes sense to you, why you might use the long video and how that would work using the controls in slides to break it up? Awesome. Thank you, Sharon and Allison, Frederick, Holly. Do any of you guys have a question right now about, and let me address that, Carla, you need the paid version. You actually don't, because what you can do is you get 10 minutes with the free version. And not that I don't want you all to buy Screencastify, because I do, because it's an amazing tool and the price is incredible. I keep asking Neff, how do you guys sell this amazing product for this price? Because it's just so so reasonably priced. But remember, you have 10 minutes. So with your free version. So that is 3 whole slides. So if you're doing 3 minutes each, you know, 3, 3, 3, you've got 9 minutes. And then you can make another video. And remember, isn't it right? Can't you make 50 videos a month with the free version? So yeah, you can do this, Kathleen. You definitely can. It sounds really overwhelming to begin with, but like somebody pointed out earlier, we have tutorials on our YouTube channel that show exactly every single step of what I did tonight. And you definitely can do this. And now Neff's going to give us some information because I might have just said something that was wrong. I
No,
saw her
Amy,
pop up. There you go.
you are 100% right. We're committed to the free version being free forever. Carla, you're right. You cannot edit on the free version, but we do have a trial of the free version, and I'd be happy to send you an email so that we can get you set up with that. But I absolutely love what Amy has said. This is a brilliant opportunity for you to save yourself a lot of time to actually facilitate and serve as a learning partner with your students instead of being a broken record, repeating the directions over and over and over again. And I'm sure that everybody here would drastically and really, really love to save themselves some time. So thank you so much, Amy. I'll get off and let you continue the awesomeness.
No, thank you very much for chiming in. Yeah, I do think that this is a huge time saver. And as for me, I always had a hard time with repetition as a teacher. When my students would come in and they would be their last period of the day, I know this was me. Like, haven't I already told all of you all of this, what I'm saying right now? I'm sure I've already told you. And they'd be like, Miss Mayer, it's 5 minutes into class. You haven't told us anything. But I had said it 6 or 7 times before they got there. And I felt like I've already said this to you too. Well, once I learned how to use a screencasting tool, I became, so much better at giving directions because I was only ever giving them one time. And then I was putting them somewhere where my students could go back to them over and over again. And that's the really exciting thing about this. All right, so I've shown you guys a couple of different examples that I brought with me today. And now I would really like to know, what are you still left with needing to know? What do you want to do with the time we have left? Do you want me to build a little presentation and show you some more of those strategies? Are you like, I've got it, I'm ready to go? Or what do you want to do next? All right, Anna Maria says, is the marriage of Screencastify and Google Slides front load heavy? That is a lot, working around prepping initially and figuring out what goes where. Yeah, I think so. I think I would say yes, that this is switching your work so that what you're doing is you're doing your work before your students are there instead of doing the work while they're there. So this is how you hear people at conferences and stuff like that say, we want you to be the guide on the side, not the sage on the stage. I know everybody's heard that quote before. And I mean, probably most teachers have thought, yeah, well, that sounds real great. How am I going to do that? Well, this is a really concrete way that is how you can do that. And yeah, let's go over this, the strategies here. And please do ask questions. Nothing is too detailed, because if you don't have the exact directions, you can't do this, then I don't want you to waste your time here tonight. So let's do this. All right, I'm going to start a new slide deck. And I'm going to do that by typing slides.new, which is going to open a new presentation for us. It's the fastest way I know of to get a new Google thing. So you can type docs.new, slides.new, sheets.new, and that will open up a new presentation for you. So I'm just going to get a brand new presentation here, and then we're going to actually look at some of these things, some of these elements that Jessica and Carrie used to make these tools. What is the best way to record with Screencastify when making a video while presenting with Google Slides? Okay, I'm going to say what I think the answer is, and then I'm going to get Neff to answer this question maybe better than I can, because that's a great question. So when you are recording a slide deck, so let's say you want to go through a presentation where you've got some directions or whatever for your students. I never really understood the purpose of the browser tab recording until until I thought of this. I was like, why did they make the browser tab recording? I don't even get it. Well, I get it now, because look what I can do. If I start browser tab recording and I choose and I start on this tab with my presentation, I could have another tab open over here that's got a document in it, that's got all of my notes. But when I switch over to that document to look at my notes, what are my viewers going to be seeing? They're still going to be seeing my slides. So it's a really great tool to know about the browser tab option, which you'll see in Screencastify in the free version too. But if I start on this tab, then I can go into presentation mode if I want, and I'm only going to be recording what's in this tab. Now, do you have anything to add to that as far as what would be the best way to record a slides, a presentation?
Yeah, I agree with you. I 100% love to do it in the browser tab because that also gives you a little bit more functionality with those annotation tools. So if you want to draw on the screen and show people exactly what you're looking at, you can do that in a browser tab. And you also get a ton of webcam functionality. So in a tab recording, you can actually go from a full screen webcam to you being really, really small in the bottom, which will allow you to talk to your students and then kind of go away. Which creates a really dynamic presentation. So I always go tab recording, but if you do need to switch between tabs, then I would recommend a desktop recording. And Michelle, to answer your question, if you're in a desktop recording and you switch tabs, then your face will switch tabs with you.
Oh, cool. That's good to know. All right, awesome. So let's go through some of these strategies in a really concrete way so that you can replicate this later. I know this is a tiny bit off topic, but I promised myself if I ever understood what the master slide did, I would tell other people. So I finally have mastered this, I think, in my own brain. So if you're starting a new presentation and you're starting off blank, if you want to change all of the fonts and everything at one time instead of having to go back and change every single thing one by one, then I would, if I were you, just go ahead and go into the master slide and change your fonts here before you even start. Because if you do that, it's going to save you so much time later. So let me say that one more time. You probably see how a minute ago that was Arial, which is wrong. Arial is never the answer to your problems. Everybody's got that, right? So if I go into the master slide and I make font changes here, then it's going to save me so much time later because I make it here one time. Do you see how it changes throughout the whole entire presentation? And then when I go back over here and I make a new slide with a layout, I'm automatically going to have the font that I selected there instead of having to go and change it every single time. Yes, Jessica, Arial is wrong. And you can tell all of your friends that. It's the truth. Yeah, the master slide is awesome. And I promise you this is the truth. I just recently came to understand what that really meant. And so now I'm committed to telling everybody. All right, so here's my slide. And let's pretend that this is going to be my slide that has got the playlist on it, like Jessica made. So I'm going to go into my shapes and I'm going to make a button. And I just use the rectangle because that looks the most like a button to me and like kind of what I expect it to look like. So now I'm going to give it a fill color. So let me try to not make it hideous. All right, so I'm going to give it that blue fill color. And then let's say I want to change the font here too. So maybe I want my font here too to be Anton, and I'm going to change it and make it white. So let's say this is going to be, she started with vocabulary. Well, I'm going to start with vocabulary. All right, here's another trick. I'm committed to telling everyone. If I want to make this font grow 1 point at a time, I mean, you know how you can go up here and yeah, I can change it to be 18, or I could come up here and I could type in 16. But if I want to grow this 1 point at a time so that I can see when it fills the space like this, do you guys want to know how I just did that? I'm going to wait for you to actually answer in the chat. Thank you, Jessica, even though I know you already know because I already told you how to do this. But yes, this is the kind of stuff that, you know, gets me up in the morning. It's pretty small stuff, but it really does. So how you do this on your PC, you hold down Control Shift, and then you use the less than symbol, which is also the comma. On your Chromebook, same thing, Control Shift, less than, greater than, comma, period. And on your Mac, obviously, it is Command Shift and then greater than, less than. And that lets me get, get that exactly like I want it. All right. Now here's something my friend Brooke Lowry, who's in the chat tonight, taught me that has saved me so much time and effort. So I've got this button now selected, and I want to make 3 more that are congruent. So here we go. It's selected. I've got the blue line around it. Wait, first, let me make sure that I make it be the right shape. Another thing that I want everybody to know is what this little yellow button here does. So this yellow thing, handle, changes the angle, the angles inside a shape. So I want to get everything set before I copy this. And not normally, right, wouldn't we do Control C, Control V? Isn't that how we would get another one of these shapes? But Brooke would say, no, that is not what we do. This is what we do. We select the thing that we want to duplicate, and we do Control D, 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 D. Every time I hit D, Control D, I'm going to get a duplicate of my shape. And there we go. Another thing I learned recently from Brooke is that you can show guides inside your slides that will let you handily line things up. So if I want to put this guide over here right in the middle, I went to View, Guides, Show Guides. I can add more if I want to. So I can have one be on the left-hand side of this shape and one on the right-hand side, so that as I am moving these objects down into place, I can see exactly where they go. And of course, I can also use my alignment tools to get them all spread out properly and all that, but it kind of helps just to have a starting place. All right, I want to line them all up now. So I'm going to hold down Shift on my keyboard, and I'm going to select each of my buttons so that they're all selected now. And now I can align them center, and I can also distribute them vertically. And you can see now they're perfectly lined up, and my guides will sit right where they should now because they're all lined up. All right, so now then we would just change our buttons to be whatever we want our second, third, and fourth button to be. And now we need to add some new slides. So we need to put in another slide so that we can do a link. All right, so here is another slide we're going to be able to link to. And then we'll do another one. So we've got a few different choices here. All right, so now we want to link vocabulary. Let's say we want to link that to slide 2. So we're going to click on our vocabulary button. We're going to go to our link tool, or we could right click, another way to get there. We can go to slides in this presentation, and we can select next slide. In our case, that would be correct. And slide 2 is the same as next slide. So I can connect it here and apply. And now that's where that button will go. So if I don't want my students to be able to just move forward in this without using their buttons, then I'm going to use that technique that Jessica did where she's skipping those slides in presentation mode. And now they're dependent on using the buttons. If I want the transparent box in the background, that's something that you guys ask about for sure. I should have put that there. My smartest move would have been to put that there before I did all this with the buttons. But I didn't do that. So let's look at what we're going to do. So let's put the box over the top of this. And then I'm going to arrange this so that it goes back. And I'm going to do that until I make sure I see my buttons on top of it. So now my buttons should all be on top of the transparent box. And now I can change my box to transparent and change my line to transparent. And now nothing on this slide is going to be clickable if I get that at the right level, except my buttons that I want people to be able to click. Christine, align and distribute every OCD person's dream. Yes, and the guides, right? I actually got a presentation shared with me that had these guides all over it. I had to text Brooke and say, how do I get rid of all these lines that are all over everything. And then I learned that those lines are actually really helpful, and you can move them all around, and they can help you get things lined up, which I really appreciate. All right, I feel like I'm missing something. There was a question that just came to me that I wanted to answer that I think somebody asked, and now it's just gone out of my head. I don't know. Y'all tell me if you think of anything. So let's on this one, let's go ahead and put in a video, one of our Screencastify videos. And let's go ahead and get it from Google Drive. And then we will set the settings on that and make it small. We'll pretend that it's one of those we're going to use just for the audio. So here's our video. Let's say what we really want is the audio. If you shrink it down small enough, then your students will not be able to see. Oh, I know what it was. Don't let me forget. What I want to show you is the publication settings. That's really important. So I'm going to get it so small that they will not see the full screen option. If you get it about this big or bigger, when you go into presentation mode or when you play the video, you're going to see the full screen option on this video. It's a little symbol that appears. That's it, right down there. That's the full screen option. But if I get this video small enough, even when it's playing, I don't see that option anymore. And I want to make it small enough that that goes away. So when I've got this clicked, now I can go into format options and video playback. And this is where I can choose the autoplay when presenting. And that's so my student doesn't have to find that little bitty video. They're going to be in presentation mode because that's what I'm going to force them into when I'm making one of these self-directed presentations. So let's take a look at how these publication settings work. So let's say I want to make one of these that turns out like Jessica's activity here, where I can click the buttons and all that. Well, you see how they're not looking at this slide deck in the same way that we are. Uh-oh, I just got some pony boy talking there, I think. They're not looking at this in edit mode. They're looking at it as a finished product. So let's make sure we all know how to do that. So we're going to go to publish to the web. And we can do this at any time. And we're going to hit publish and OK. And then this now is the URL to this presentation that we want to give to other people. So I'm going to do Control-C or Command-C on my computer and get that on my computer's clipboard. Now I'm going to paste and go that special link into another tab in my browser. And now you're going to see this finished version of this presentation. So this is the URL that I want to put into Google Classroom or shorten. So unfortunately, goo.gl is no more. So that particular tool, which was so nice, is not working anymore. But we're using bit.ly now, and we do really like it too. So now if I use my bit.ly shortener extension, then I can customize this, and that is a nice feature. So I'm going to call this sample presentation 2019. I don't want to use up an important bit.ly for someone, but sample-presentation-2019. Now, this is a URL I can put up on the board, or I can use with any kind of way I want this to put this in front of students. I can do that with my short URL now that I've got it. But that is the URL that I want to shorten when I'm making this kind of presentation. Anna Maria asked, if you download the Google Slides as a PDF, will the Screencastify videos still play in the PDF format? I do not think so. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I think you will lose the videos if you do that. You can get hyperlinks, but I don't think you will still have the video. All right. Anyone have any other questions or ideas or things that we should go over before we sign off for tonight and I give you guys all these links? I hope everybody learned something new tonight that you can use. Can you guys give me a shout out or something if you did? Great. I'm so super glad to hear that. Are you sure you haven't thought of anything else that you need to know? You have everything that you need to take this back, make one over the weekend, roll it out with your kids on Monday, and maybe possibly have a quiet day in your classroom? I know that's too much to ask, but it can happen, I promise you. So what I will do, I will add that self-directed slides presentation or YouTube video, sorry, that we have to the blog post I'm about to put out. So in just a couple of minutes, as soon as we get off, I'm going to be publishing this on the friEdTechnology blog. And I'll go back in and put any other links that we've talked about here. And I will also put a link back to this archived video so that everything will be here in one place. So if you do need to get to our website, it's fried.tech. So you heard that right. All you have to do is type in fried.tech and you should be redirected to our website, and you will see blog as one of the choices across the top there in the top menu on our website. And you'll find this at the very top because I'm about to post it any second. So thanks so much, you guys, for watching and listening tonight. And I'm going to throw it back over to Neff and let her wrap us up.
All right. Thank you so much, Amy, for an amazing webinar. We will have another webinar presented by the folks at friEd next month that will be over using Screencastify for amazing feedback. If you stay on this page, you will automatically be redirected so that you can sign up now, and you will get some information so that you don't miss out. Please make sure to follow us at Screencastify and to follow friEdTechnology on Twitter. I've just put some buttons in there that you can use to make sure that you follow both of us so that you are always in the know about the happenings for both of us. As Amy said, she's going to drop the link so that you guys can see all of the amazing resources that they've curated for tonight. If there's ever anything that Screencastify can do, please don't hesitate to contact me personally. You guys have an absolutely amazing night, and thank you for spending some of it with us here.
Thank you, Neff. So great to see you.
You too, as always, Amy.
Bye, everybody.